In 2011, MTV Base Africa launched its first ever pro-democracy campaign in Africa, tagged Choose or Lose, which encouraged and empowered youth to get involved in politics by voting for their future. And after 4 years, this campaign has found its way back to your screen to pick up where we left off. The Nigerian elections have become too intense in the past few months for you to miss out on. It has sparked off discussions from living rooms and offices down to social media, blogs, and international news sites to this roundtable right here. So, we brought together some of the most vocal and intelligent minds under one roof to discuss some of the topics on everyone's lips, ranging from education, healthcare, power, and the deciding factor of all, which is leadership. So sit with us at the round table as we discuss the questions sent in by you, the viewers, because your views and votes count. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MTV Base Roundtable Choose or Lose special. Sitting around the table with me today, we have some of the most intelligent minds when it comes to issues affecting the youth of Nigeria. I'm going to start introductions with someone who needs absolutely no introduction. He is a superstar social activist, very vocal when it comes to things to do with Nigeria and the youth. His name is Two-Face. Next to him is a radio personality, a journalist, and a political commentator. His name is Stanley. Welcome. As well as one of the biggest artists, female that is, to come out of Nigeria at the moment. Her name is Yemi Alade. And everybody knows your favorite TV personality, Ebuka.
Myself.
Moving on to my left now, we have the ever-capable Banky W. And we're giving you two living legends in the house today because we have Sound Sultan. And last but definitely not least, we have someone who's very, very vocal on Instagram. Twitter. He blogs about politics, economics, and social issues. His name is Omojuwa. Now remember, guys, it is very important that you go out and vote. I'll be voting, as will everybody sitting across this table right now. It is very important that the young people in Nigeria participate in helping our government out. Make sure you vote. Make sure you choose or lose. All right, guys, ladies, gentlemen, can we agree that this is going to be an absolutely unbiased discussion where we'll be looking at the issues that affect the youth of Nigeria from all sides of the coin?
Totally.
Definitely. Great. Hi. Let's begin then with something that is at the very core of who we are, our foundation. It is what we're hoping to achieve as Nigerians, what we are right now, and what we hope to do going forward. And it starts with education. Okay, so we went out into the streets to speak to people, and this is what they had to say.
Comes to educational aspect, Nigeria is improving, but we still need some areas that we need to touch. There are some schools, when it comes to your state, you're supposed to have free education.
Well, the state of education in Nigeria right now is really okay. I mean, if you're talking about the state of education in Nigeria 10 years ago, you can compare to what we have now.
If I was in charge of education tomorrow, first thing would be to work on infrastructure.
One of the basic things I'll do is provide necessary facilities.
The first thing I will do is fire all the incompetent lecturers.
I'll give free education to the masses from the primary level to the secondary level to the university level.
First thing I will do is ensure that there is 60% of practical work and 40% of theory work.
Government should pay lecturers on time so that lecturers can go back to work and things can move on well.
Conducive environments for learning. I think the teachers need to be taught. There's a need for constant training. Because it is the bedrock of our environment. It's the bedrock of our goals and our hopes.
Okay, so we've heard from the youth, and now I'd like to hear what Omojuwa has to say about what education has been like in Nigeria over the past 10 years.
I think our educational system does not respond to the needs of our society. The needs of our society in the 60s, when these things were crafted, are not the same needs that we have today. 50 years, half a century. So I think the critical challenge is not even about infrastructure. It's not about whether we have good teachers or not. It's about the fact that even if you get good teachers into our classrooms, they're going to be teaching things that our society does not need anymore. So we need a responsive educational system.
I would like to see the government actually, whatever government wins the election, actually focus on education and make it a priority. When I was fortunate enough to have scholarships to go to university outside of Nigeria, and while I left for my university education, people that were in my same class, it took them almost twice as long because the teachers kept going on strike. If it's not ASU today, it's this tomorrow. They're striking because they're not getting paid or you know, whatever the reason is. And furthermore, I mean, if you read the statistics, they say 60% of our actual graduates are unemployable. So that means they're going to school and they have a piece of paper, but it doesn't mean anything.
We talk about all of these billionaires around the world, the Zuckerbergs, you know, the Steve Jobs, and how they dropped out of university and still made it in life. Obviously, university education is not that serious. They did that because they got the foundation right. What is wrong with that primary and secondary education is what we should be talking about.
Which for me is why, you know, what the president is doing with Omojuwa education in North is commendable. You know, it starts early. Those people are very important, and when you can get them from that age, they don't turn into the radicals and the insurgents when they grow older. But it's just not enough.
Okay, so there's been a lot said so far on education in general, and you've touched on things from the Zuckerbergs of abroad and how we don't have that right now in place where we can create one of those. There's also a lot I've heard about the girl-child phenomenon in Nigeria and how they're a bit abandoned. I'm obviously going to look at Yemi Alade first here. You did study in Nigeria and you went to university in Nigeria. Now, what do you think can be added to that learning experience?
My guys on the street, people on the street, I would say, first of all, it's not enough to just have federal government schools. Everybody knows that to get up in the morning and work, you need food in your tummy. I think somehow they should provide some kind of lunch allowance for them. Not even the money, like make sure that there's food for them there. Something to look forward to after reading, if you know what I mean. And the books as well, and even transport. Most of these kids, do you see them crossing the road? Do you see them crossing the road? It's like the parents just need to get rid of them, so they send them to school in their tattered uniforms, and they just cross the road anyhow. Picking up from what Yemi said, I think that, first of all, there needs to be a focus from the government, whichever government wins the election. There needs to be a focus from them on making education a priority. We have teachers who haven't been trained in donkey years, who've been there. You just throw them out there and expect them to deliver the best, and they're not even up to date with what is being taught around the world now.
We have to rethink what we think education is, because in Nigeria, education is poof, 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 university, poof, get into the society, look for jobs. But going to vocational schools is education. The other day, they were trying to build the Lekki Ikoyi Link bridge, and they couldn't find welders. I think they imported, and then they had to train people, and then people are saying there are no jobs. So we have to understand that you can train to make something like this. You can train vocational training, because in our society, people look at those things as though, So we should de-emphasize the whole bookie thing, and let people understand that education has changed, society has changed, the needs of society have changed.
One other thing is the orientation of the mindset of Africans in general. The orientation is just go to school and just learn something. You know, many people don't go to school based on what they're interested in. I think that's one of the major reasons why we have so many people that are in charge of so many affairs that don't know nothing about that department.
Sometimes we keep talking so much about the government. We don't know that we are the government as well.
Okay, so as someone who is a part of the government.
Yes. And now let me talk about the students themselves. You know, we recorded the lowest, the highest failure in WAEC last year, May, June, 70%. And I don't think you can just blame only the government for that.
What are the positives you think we have right now when talking about education specifically in Nigeria?
I think the most obvious positive is the fact that our people are naturally brilliant. Throw a Nigerian in any university, go to any university in the world as I speak to you right now. Nigerians are topping classes.
They get there for ground. You know go intelligent.
It's full in one sector.
And has one language. God, I think language is a major problem.
And what would that language be?
You see somebody in school, they're teaching chemistry chemistry. They say dilution is English word. The person never study English. Then they tell us dilution for chemistry. Because that will be, you know, so the curriculum has to be really cross-checked. So like for me, if they can gather some linguistics professors and let them package PG English properly, let's create comma, full stop, past tense, present tense, for the language. Let it be official. Let them just create it.
But you know, if you start doing that, they will not have to start learning this one, just like they're learning. English is the lingua franca. English is what they said everybody should be learning. So if you start bringing all these ones into pidgin, they will have to start learning it too. That's still the problem now.
Not be once person is starting learning English.
You can include pidgin English to the curriculum, but from where we stand right now, we need to fix what we have, as opposed to saying, let's tear the whole thing down. Maybe they talk pidgin, they go. Like, I just think it's a little bit ambitious.
Right. We are still one of the leaders when it comes to economy within Africa.
The leader.
Okay,
actually.
so we must be doing something right with our education. Yeah. So I need to hear more positives from you. What are we doing right?
Okay, at least all the universities, all the states now have universities. People say that's not enough, but that's something. The fact that there was no university here before, and I think credit to the current government for doing that. So those that are running now should tell us exactly how they want to move forward from saying, I have built a university in this state, because that's been done now.
I don't know if it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but it has to happen in the long run. There's nowhere in the world where education is cheap.
Hold on. There's nowhere in the world where private education is cheap.
Education, generally.
I agree. But public university is affordable in America because there's a system that provides for scholarships.
Exactly.
And so even if you can't afford it, you can still go to school.
My point exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yes, we need to have a system where... Yeah.
University. Reality like Sweden.
But then exactly.
For me, free education is a scam.
Thank you.
Nobody here is saying that university education must be free. But nobody here has said that. So let's not make that a point.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that let's make education a priority.
The government should have a system where, even if it's expensive, you can pay over 20 years.
Right.
But as long as professors are not earning money, they're going to keep selling you handouts for 2,000 naira, because that's the only way they can live.
Yemi, I see you nodding through whatever everything Ebuka has been saying there. So let's imagine you're sitting in front of any of the candidates right now. What would you suggest to them?
I think we're fond of asking questions and pointing fingers as always. So I would suggest that even in the industry I find myself, most times when you want to take certain actions, you look first of all to people who are already doing it on a big scale. Then you start using them as a reference. So I think we should look, if for instance we're looking at the American educational system or British educational system, and we think that what they're doing for their students, they can pay student loans and all that and make it through. And even when you're working, you're out of school, you're still paying. If that is what will sustain us, why not?
All right, it's definitely heating up here. We've already had thoroughly exciting conversations happening, and I can't wait to hear what your view is on the matter. Make sure you go to the MTV-based Twitter account, Facebook account. If you're on Twitter, use the hashtag MTV-based choose or lose. Now, I can't stress this enough. Come election day, I need you to promise that you will do everything in your power to go out and vote. Make sure you choose or you lose. Now, don't go anywhere, though. We have a lot more to come, covering healthcare, power, and leadership. And don't forget, the hashtag to follow today is MTV-based choose or lose. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the MTV-based Roundtable Choose or Lose edition. If you've just joined us, you have missed us talking about education, but fret you not, because we're still here with our panelists, and we're about to dig into some other topics. Now, some of the things we'll be talking about today will be power, leadership, and healthcare. Right now, though, we start with healthcare. So let's start off by seeing what Nigerians have to say on the topic.
We can't deceive ourselves. The health sector in Nigeria is very, very poor.
Nothing really much to write home about.
Health sector has not improved well. I think I prefer the private sector to the public sector in terms of hospitals. Plus, the public hospitals go on strike, leaving their patients stranded.
Health sector have been improving.
Well, the health sector in Nigeria has really improved in recent times.
Compared to other countries, I don't think we've gone anywhere yet.
Some very interesting and honest views expressed there. Now, I'm going to start with Ebuka this time. Let Omojuwa rest for a little bit. I can see you rearing forward. But what do you think the current state of healthcare in Nigeria is?
I think it's pretty obvious how dire our situation is. Anybody who's been to a hospital anytime in the last 10, 15 years knows exactly what the situation is. There's a lot going wrong, from personnel to equipment to infrastructure generally. We've talked a lot about how there's the brain drain. I think one of the most affected sectors is the healthcare sector. You go to the United States, you go to Saudi Arabia, it's like the place to go to now for doctors. One, because, I mean, we lived through the medical doctor strike last year. There's probably 2 or 3 every year, as it's been happening in the last couple of years. Why? Because they don't get paid. And even when they get paid, we know how much they get paid. It's almost ridiculous to be in school for 6, 7 years and come out and you're saving lives and you have nothing to show for it. So there's still a lot to do. I mean, a few governors I know in the last couple of years have tried to make that their focal point by building healthcare centers, primary healthcare centers.
Some 45 or almost 50% of our medical tourism is to India. Why do I think so? It's not just the fact that we are taking everything away, but India, I mean, India and Nigeria, more or less, ordinarily, when you think about it, logically, commonsensically, they should be at the same level. So if India can do what they did right, and like Yemi was saying for education, look at what others are doing right and replicate it. Can we look at what India is doing right and at least try to replicate?
Well, they're coming to build hospitals here, that's what they said.
All right, so can we talk about how the healthcare sector has improved in Nigeria, though?
I'll give you a positive. The way Nigeria handled Ebola was fantastic.
Right.
Dare I say the way Lagos handled Ebola was really, really fantastic. The way that they were able to cordon off the affected people and track down each and every person that could be, and they're still handling it.
I'm talking about Ebola. We need to give credit to Dr. Stella Adadevo. She was extraordinary. But apart from myself, several other people on the team, even the federal government for once, at least they spoke on TV and tried to calm people down.
I'm talking about the federal government, the coordination with Lagos State. There's always this tussle. There's always a tussle between the federal government and states, and the collaboration was actually very, very good.
It was impressive. It was a good time to be a Nigerian.
Did you know, I found this out recently, that in Lagos State, all Lagos State hospitals are powered independently by Lagos State Independent Power Plants.
Right.
So there's never a situation where, because these things used to happen, where the hospital doesn't have light and the generator is down.
For the first time, we have not had any case of polio, no new polio case in about a year. So if we're able to sustain this, Nigeria is going to be declared polio-free, which is a big achievement, and it was a deliberate thing. And if you read some reports after we curtailed Ebola, you find out that the structures that were able to use to fight Ebola was the structure we had for polio, so we're able to quickly move in. So I think that's a positive as well. And life expectancy has increased in Nigeria.
Okay, I'd really like to know what you would say to the presidential candidates right now, or maybe even some of the people running for governorship or local governors, whatever, the candidates right now, what you'd want them to do in terms of healthcare, HIV.
I think we need to pay a lot more attention to maternal mortality.
Right.
We still have one of the highest in the entire world. The numbers are getting better, but we need to do a lot more, because when you look at the global numbers, Nigeria has a huge chunk. Apart from that, we need to pay a lot of attention to child mortality, which again goes to the same area of healthcare, which is primary healthcare. Of course, HIV, AIDS, the noise on that has really gone down. But look, we still need to let people know that they have responsibilities, whether it's about abstinence, the whole abstinence is a condom, be faithful, and all that stuff.
You see what Michelle Obama is doing about obesity and all those things? We need to enlighten the people as well towards living a healthy life.
What I want to say is any public office holder should not go abroad or do any public office holder must. Everything, education, health, everything must be done here.
Thank you very much, Two-Face. Now, on that note, guys, I'd really like to hear your opinion on what we've discussed so far and what we will be talking about as the show progresses. Don't forget to go to Twitter and Facebook, and the hashtag to use is MTVBase Choose or Lose. I've said this more than 100 times, and I'll keep saying it till you do what you need to do. Make sure that when D-Day comes, you vote. Exercise your right as a Nigerian, as someone who cares about what happens to the tomorrow that you want to see in this country. And there's only way to do that, and that is by voting. All right, we're moving on now to our next topic, one that I know Ebuka and Yemi Alade have been waiting. See, Ebuka's ready. And it's power. But before we hear what Yemi Alade has to say about this, let's see what people said in the streets of Nigeria.
The core issues surrounding power in Nigeria, it's, I think, a lack of maintenance.
I think distribution is one of the core issues affecting our country today in terms of power. I think the federal government and the state government need to work together on how to distribute electricity.
In my own house, there has been light at least, maybe not all the time, but at least they do bring the light compared to how it was before.
If you look at most localities, they're having light. It's not like before.
The private sector is getting involved. It's improving, but we do still need to be able to hold our own. So I think something drastic needs to be done.
What can we as young people do to save power? Well, I think by using energy-saving light bulbs for starters, by turning off our lights when we're not using it, little things like that.
Do not use power excessively. If you know you don't need lights at night, like in your bedroom or you're watching a movie in your living room and all that, switch it off. Whatever you don't need in your house at that point in time, switch it off.
All right, so we've heard from the streets. I'd definitely like to hear what Yemi Alade has to say about power in Nigeria. Specifically, are there any measurable improvements you've noticed in the past 10 years?
Power.
Sorry for laughing, but improvements power, it's...
PHCN has been privatized now, right? So since privatization then?
Since privatization. The only thing I see that's been privatized so far is, different companies coming to Nigeria and selling more generators. Really, I'm sorry. Power supply is the atom that makes everything work in any society. We need better power supply. They need to do research. If nobody's researching, then you just keep staying, you just become redundant.
Yeah.
If we're going to ask that question, do we have any positives? I think the privatization of it was a positive. Taking it a step further, honestly, power has been the one issue that has plagued us, and I think it's probably worse now than it was when we were kids. But I will say that the administration under which power is fixed will probably go down as the greatest administration that we've had as a country.
But honestly, to be fair to government and everything, I think power is the one place where we need to be a little more sort of patient, if I use that word very loosely. We didn't have any investment at all in power for almost 40 years. So I think the good thing has been done. That was the hard part, selling these things, even finding people to buy them. And it was impressive that the bidding process was open and a lot of people actually showed interest in these things. So I think we're actually onto something. Power generation it's power as a whole. There's a whole chain. There's generation, there's distribution, there's transmission. These things were sold to different people. We hear about gas every day. Gas is now being transmitted to all of these things. The dams are down. These are things that are going to need time.
I need to say something. We burn about $2.5 billion worth of gas every year through gas flaring. That's something we could use to power. It's not as clean as solar energy, but that's something we can start from. Nigeria has solar power throughout the year. In Germany, it was 51% about 2 years ago, and it's going up. So at least 51% of their power generation is from private homes, private individuals. When you have excess, you feed into the national grid and you get paid for it. It's big business. Look, talking about the liberalized sector, we've liberalized, but government hands are still there. Why? Government still controls prices. I don't want government. Look, if you want a market to be free, let it be free. Nobody told the telecom providers, and it's the most liberalized sector in Nigeria. And you know what? It's the only sector in Nigeria where we're paying less for what we get than what we paid in the year 2000. Other sectors are paying more. Why is it like that? Because the competition is real. Now we don't have 10 players, we have about 4 or 5 players. But the competition is real.
What he's saying, in essence, is that if you leave competition, people will lower prices. The market will stabilize itself. That's what he's saying.
No, but that's what he's saying. Okay.
See why it's different. Because in power, when they privatize, for instance, Lagos or your Ogun, there's one company. They are not for that. They are not competing with anybody there.
There is not a liberalized sector.
And that's how. Why they can't liberalize? Because the investment in power sector, if you start bringing to recoup it.
It's not because of the investment.
Omojuwa, wait.
There was 70 million people in this country. Anything you drop, any business you drop.
Not true. Not exactly.
We're going to hit tables. We're hitting tables.
Not exactly true.
That said, there is a question I asked, and nobody has directly answered it yet. And it was, what are the core issues surrounding power in Nigeria?
Gas, number one.
Okay.
Because gas availability. The availability thing is partly right, but it's not the entire thing. There's a power plant that they built in Cross River State. It's been done for I think, about a year now, done, ready.
But it's not being used.
Because there's no gas. People were supposed to supply gas to it. They have failed and all of that. So gas is the first thing that needs to be done. The second thing there, of course, is the fact that like Ebuka said, a lot of investment has not been done in a while. So our transmission, the transmission sector especially, it is old.
But there's alternative solutions. You know, while we're focused on gas and all of that, I mean, when you land in Joburg, when you're driving in from the airport, there's a whole town that you see the solar panels on the roof. Right. And they're you know, I don't know what the incentive was to get all of these people to put these solar panels on the roof, but it's actually there. And this is Africa here. This is not
exactly. None of these things are cheap. Let's just remember.
Yes, but if we're talking about allocating,
these are investments that are going to cost a lot.
Yes, but if we're talking about fixing problems in the long run and allocating budgets and stuff like that, I'd like to see some attention being shown to some of these solutions. Some of these solutions will pay for themselves with the understanding that it'll take 15 years or whatever. But it makes sense to start doing that now. Let's not, I mean...
There are a lot of files on a lot of tables.
So, Sultan, what would you say to people, the youth of Nigeria, who feel that they need to do something to help in the power sector?
Well, what we're saying right now is just for people to...
Is that still a middle class?
To always be a bit more vocal.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
Let's come out. Let's tell these people we can provide solutions to them, not just be carrying placards and all this stuff.
So what can young people do then, Omojuwa? What can young people do besides?
Irrespective of what happens, irrespective of who we vote in, because of the challenges we're going to have with power going forward, we're not going to escape from small solutions like solar, like what they're doing in Mount 12, using gas, the waste, using biogas to generate power and all that. As a young person, it will be smart for you to go on Google to take classes on things like this, because we should start thinking of being entrepreneurs, because eventually, whether Nigeria likes it or not, individuals are going to be the ones providing power for communities. So as a young person, start understanding that these problems are there and you have to be part of the solution beyond hashtags and tweeting and we no go agree protest.
What I will say is, I mean, part of the reason we're having this discussion and talking about all these issues is to get young people hopefully interested in the state of Nigeria and realize that it affects you. So you're choosing or losing, or your choice to vote or not vote, or to sit at home or not to pick up your voter's card, because if you don't have it, you can't vote. Newsflash, by the way. You choosing to do that or not do that actually affects the state of the country. So, you know, we can sit down, we can sit at this table or on Twitter or on Instagram or in our homes and complain, or we can take the first step to change in Nigeria, which is you have a vote, vote.
Okay, so we've touched on all the different methods that we think we can use to generate power in Nigeria. And I'm going to start with Ebuka with this one now. So let's imagine, not in the near future, we've got a new president and he's doling out special appointments. You've got a special power appointment. What would you do within the power sector?
I have no expertise in power, so you can't give me that appointment.
I like
so that's not they said research. They said research. So you start with research. What would you do? What would be What would be your top priority? Would you invest in solar?
One of the most technical things to handle.
Right.
We saw in the past where a minister was sort of doing things, another one came in, and things went south, and people were wondering why. It's because probably the guy didn't know what to do. It's a very technical place to work. Yeah. And even those who have bought these power plants now and the generating plants are saying the same thing. They bought these things and they're like, okay, I didn't think I was going to have to do this much work. There's a lot that's happening that needs to happen. There's a lot of investment that needs to happen there. I think we need to be a little more sincere, is what I just think. Government needs to be a little more sincere with what's happening. Let us know. That's what all of the, I mean, you wake up every day, you see, oh, now we're generating 462.16 megawatts. The next day is 0.18. We don't need to know. Let us know what is happening. All of these figures, just let us know what's happening and what is possible.
For instance, the major problem right now is that they are really, really behind in the roadmap. They're actually following it. You know, with the whole privatization thing, all of it was in the roadmap that was framed when the current administration came into power. They had a roadmap. But there were specific timelines that by 2011 would have reached here, by 2012, but on all of those indices, they fell short. on every single one of them.
Okay, so is it possible that we live in an environment where the circumstances are unique enough that even when you've hired professionals to come in and do, because the roadmap would have been created by someone who knows what they're doing to create timelines. So maybe the circumstances within Nigeria is just so implicitly unique that you're learning and you're working with it every day as much as you're learning from other people and what they've done. So we need to have more faith, I guess.
The biggest challenge really and truly is the fact that we always concentrate on the big solutions.
Right.
Where sometimes we just need small solutions scattered all across.
This is what Omojuwa, you know, there's a law that says, for instance, River State, for instance, Lagos State, they generate power. Yes. But there's a law that says they have to feed every power they generate into the national grid. No, not over. If I generate power, I have to feed it into the national grid. Then there's a portion that they give to every state. So even if I spend money to generate everything, I have to feed it. I can't give it to the people. Meanwhile, it should be local. It should be small for me. So they have to remove laws like that. Those are really backwards.
Okay, so now we're going to keep this discussion going about power on social media. And you already know the hashtag. It's MTV Base, choose or lose. Don't forget, check us out on Twitter and Facebook. We're going to keep talking about this, and we're going to keep moving this along by voting to make sure the right thing we need in the power sector is absolutely implemented as soon as possible. We have to cover leadership very soon, and so we're going to take a very quick break. Don't forget, you are watching MTV Base Roundtable, choose or lose. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the MTV Base Roundtable, Choose or Lose Special Edition. Now, if you think things got heated up earlier, oh boy, I think it's about to get mental. In a good way, in a good way. All right, so we already covered education, we covered healthcare and power, and 3 guesses what's up next. Leadership. But first, let's find out what the people had to say on the streets of Nigeria about this topic.
If I was in charge of leadership of Nigeria, I would develop a forum where I could at least have a database and know the core problems of Nigerians and try and tackle them from top to bottom.
What can be done to help young people aspire for leadership in Nigeria? It's simple. Let these old people, give us space to actually explore our ideas. I mean, we are young, we're vibrant, we're intelligent.
Mr. President, I, Enitor, a young Nigerian citizen, would like you to provide us electricity.
Provide jobs for the young people.
Curb all the benefits our ministers and our senators get, and that way, health-wise, that way we'll all be in Nigeria together, and we'll fix everything we're going abroad to go do.
Make sure we have constant power.
I would like for you to take a look into the Nigerian police first, because there are a lot of policemen out there that are really, really corrupt.
To improve the power sector in Nigeria. Mr. President, please, lately we've been having constant lights, and my mom has been really, really impressed with it. She even told me that I should tell the person ruling now to continue doing the good job, that she doesn't mind staying under the sun voting for the president. Please, if you continue doing this, I believe a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians will actually stand with you, stand by you, and always be behind you.
Okay, this one is very, very close to my heart, actually. So the first question I have, I'm directing to Banky. We've witnessed a high number of returnees in the past few years. You're a returnee.
Yes.
Okay, would you say that you have benefited from a stronger leadership as a returnee?
I mean, to be quite frank and to be perfectly honest, I don't think that the policies or the effectiveness of our government has had any positive influence on the business that I run. I mean, I think the things that they're supposed to do and the things they're supposed to take care of to make it a conducive environment for us to run businesses, power and security and healthcare and all of these things that would make it easier for an entrepreneur to run a business, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, are non-existent. I'm my own government. I power my own house. I pay salaries. Everything that I do is as an individual effort.
Stanley, would you say that because we have good governance and good leadership in Nigeria, it's encouraged more people to return from the overs back to Nigeria and be part of our workforce?
For most of the people who I know who have come back, and Banky said it as well, it wasn't because of the government, it was in spite of the government.
But there have been a lot of them in the past 5 years. Now, that has to be a reflection on the government that we have right now, no?
Yeah, very true. The truth is that democracy is a slow system of government anywhere in the world. And coming from a military system where things were so bad, a lot of the things are going to take time to become cultural, become a part of our system, and for things to actually start working.
Nothing good comes easy. You know, governance is not easy. It's one of the most difficult things to handle, to manage people, to manage a whole entity. Especially an entity like Nigeria, where we are so diverse, it's crazy. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And in a democracy, it all comes down to votes.
As we're sitting here, Two-Face, who's probably our most successful and legendary musician, I guarantee you, he's made peanuts from royalties. And let's be clear, entertainment in Nigeria is a gold mine. It's a gold mine. I mean, the music, the movies, we're exporting it, but it's not regulated, it's not supported, it's not taxed. So we're sitting here, Koson is struggling to get royalties paid, and radio stations are saying that they're going to ban all of our music. I mean, it's ridiculous that we're at this point in 2015 where Two-Face is making peanuts, and not just Two-Face, everybody that's in that Two-Face chain. So his management, the guy that's engineering, the guy that's producing his records. In America, why is Pharrell and Kanye West and help me, Brad Pitt, and so why are they paid so much money? Because entertainment is worth something. In Nigeria, oil is a gift and a curse. Because our government, our leaders focus on this oil and the money that comes from selling it. We don't even refine the thing, for goodness sake. We just pull it out of the ground, sell it, and then share the money amongst the states.
There's something Banky said earlier when he mentioned that sometimes the emphasis on what is important, for example, with royalties, our current government might not understand because for them the focus might be oil, for example. But we do have a lot of people who exist in Nigeria right now, they're in primary school or secondary school, university, whatever it is, and they are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. What can be done to help inspire our youth in Nigeria to be, not just aspire to be in those positions of leadership, but to actually physically be in that position a few years from now? Sultan.
I always try to seize every opportunity to empower the minds of the youth. We owe it to the society as well. That's why I tell a lot of people, if you have a 12-track album, make sure one of your sweet songs, you talk about something that impacts knowledge on them.
I think in this country, any young person who needs encouragement to move into a position of leadership should not even be bothered we shouldn't bother to encourage them. Because you live in a country where, when you say leadership, an average Nigerian thinks president, governor, senator, House of Representatives. The National Assembly's budget is 150 billion naira. Some 8 years ago, it was 50 billion naira. Nigerians opened their eyes and they increased that thing to 150 billion naira, and we did nothing. Who was responsible? It was the people. Our Office of Citizenship, we did not play into it. So we did not act our role as leaders, because as a people, we are leaders.
Speaking of people who have stepped up to the mantle, there's a female candidate running at the moment. Her name is Remi Shonaya. I hope we all know her. Professor Remi Shonaya. Now, people aren't really talking about a lot of the other political aspirants. Why is that? Let's start with Yemi, especially the female candidate. Yeah.
First of all, leadership shouldn't be based on gender. I don't see any reason why, maybe because she's female or whatever. I see a woman who's strong enough to have pulled her way through and made it possible for herself to be a candidate. I really, really commend that. But that's not enough for me. I need to know information on her. I need to know what she's about. I am not going to look at gender and say, okay, I'm going to side her because she's a woman. I need more.
On the real, there's only 2 candidates that I've heard about.
Rightly so. There's 14.
Why rightly so?
No, rightly so, because to win an election in Nigeria, you need structure. You need to be able to...
Anywhere in the world.
Of course, anywhere in the world. You need to mobilize people. You need to reach out to people who have seen an advert, who have seen...
I think you have to be careful there, because you're almost implying by what you're saying that you need... Because these things like offices and things like that, it requires funding. You're implying that money is what gets you into office.
Absolutely.
Do you know how much this video Banky shoots cost him?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's a competition.
So if I say that
money is a factor in politics all
over the world.
So are you comfortable implying that you have to buy your way into office?
Nobody said that.
Okay.
It's not buy your way. You're investing in what you believe in.
Absolutely. Now, I definitely have to ask this. You know, if you're sitting in front of any of the candidates right now and you want to impart knowledge on them on what they should do as leaders of Nigeria, what would you tell them, Ebuka?
Since inception, military democracy has been corruption, and I think someone needs to tell them. They've heard it so many times, but it doesn't look like they are ready to do anything about it. But it's about time we started thinking more selflessly than selfishly. And I think we're due for a selfless leader. I don't think we've ever had that. Someone who's going to lead Nigeria just because they want to do good, not because of their pockets or for themselves. So I'm just going to say, be selfless.
In order to get something different, you have to try something different. Abi, you have to try it that way. You have to find a way to relate with the masses. For instance, I know it might be stupid. In London, you see ministers and rest taking the train because there's security. They are okay. They ride bicycles. It's cool. But yeah, they don't do that because they know it's not. They don't feel safe enough to do that. I think it's high time that someone got off their high horse and tried to mingle with the masses just to feel the scorching sun, feel the heat of the matter. And then, only then would the passion be ignited, because I'm sure people are somewhere comfortable in AC every day, 24/7.
We are due for leaders who would look at Nigeria as one entity, not through the lenses of tribe, not through the lenses of religion. Look at Nigeria as one people. So if there is chaos in one part of the country, don't say these are so killing themselves. So when there is terror, you don't begin to say it's some sectional agenda. You say terrorism is a problem with the world that we must stand together to fight, as North, as South, as Lagos, as Kano, as Christian, as Muslim, as young and old. Somebody who is going to inspire us to not abuse our fault lines, but help us in such a way that despite these our differences, we can find strength and unity in our diversity.
Yeah, I said it all, So for me, I'll just say, let the next dispensation of governance in Nigeria and in Africa in general, let it be about building institutions and making things. I'm making the system work.
I don't think you're going to get a wrong answer from this table, so I'm going to break protocol, and instead of speaking to the leaders, I'm going to speak to the young people. Thank you. And the reason I say that is because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Nigeria will continue to be the same if we do the same things, by not voting, by not caring, by not picking up our voters card or registering, or just saying it's Nigeria or God Day or any of those things. We need to care again. We need to take back the power that we've given to these people and hold them accountable for the offices that we give them.
So after having said that, I think the leaders should please try and take some very notable youths that really want the country to grow, and qualified youths, and put them on their sides to be able to update what is called, because a lot of them, if you see them, they don't even know what it is, what's obtainable out there now. Times have changed.
No matter how good intentioned you are, no matter how much you want to change this country, if you go into that place without a carefully designed intentional plan not to lose connection with the people, trust me, you will forget your own story and you will live in that delusion of power. And that will be the end of the story. You become like those people you criticize. So I have to re-emphasize again, never ever losing connection with the people. And that means intentionally going out of that prison, because there'll be a prison. Yeah. Going out of that prison, that wall of power, to reach out to the people and to exactly find out what they're going through.
Okay, wow. This has been a lot to take on. It's been the most fascinating session. I have to say thank you very much for expressing your opinions respectfully. You did it in a very unbiased manner. You got heated a few times. I'm not looking at anybody on Omojuwa, but I really enjoyed this session, and I believe that the conversation will continue on our Facebook and Twitter platforms. Don't forget, the hashtag is MTV-based Choose or Lose. Now, I hope we have enough here for us to definitely do our very best to rewrite history in Nigeria. If there's anything else that you want to add to the conversation, join us on social media. But even better, make sure you show up, you vote, you exercise your right as a Nigerian. You get your PVC card like Banky has banged on about a few times. Do everything you can to make sure that you affect the change that you want to see in Nigeria. And I repeat, make sure you choose or lose.